GM fam, and welcome to the show. My name is Minty, and just got off of the VIP roundtable call that went down tonight, and it went really well. I think we had a really good discussion. You could tell that Candy has been listening to a lot of the questions that are coming from the community. They're even answering questions and live questions on the call and through the chat. Um, and just the fact that they had a VIP roundtable at all really sets them apart from the competition in a lot of ways. So really want to say thank you to Candy for having us on there today, and I hope we have many more discussions like that. I think it really helps. Scott Lawlin, the CEO of Candy, was on there leading most of the show, as well as Matt Novogratz, head of partnerships, business development, and of course our fan favorite Megs, who is always in the Discord, giving us a hard time, or maybe it's the other way around, right? So, really had a great discussion with all of them. I want to give some highlights, maybe just the quick highlights in case you don't watch the whole video, but some of the key things where that people have been asking about or really interested in is Gary V's involvement with the project, and it seems like he still will be involved in some form or fashion. There's also mention of lead off 22 packs and that large supply of them being burned at one point. So that's a possibility. Inks seem to be happening in one form or another. There was no specifics about inks being happening anyways with the burn, because we might not, most likely won't reach the burn goal. But it seems like they inks are going to happen either anyways, or might happen in the near future in some other form. And Candy seems to be really excited about the inks and how it brings customization to the NFTs. So, I mean, it seems like a really awesome feature. It's just a shame that it had to happen with the lead off 22 series, in my opinion, because so many, it just wasn't communicated ahead of time. And Candy knows that. They alluded to being more proactive and transparent, and I'll get to more of that in a bit. So as far as the questions that I asked in my previous video, almost everything was answered to an extent, or at least touched upon. Some of the questions were, with Fanatics leaving, what does Candy lose or gain? And what Scott, the CEO, was sort of alluding to was we were absolutely right about Mike Rubin's email and his and kind of guessing what his tone was for NFTs, and his he didn't have the vision, or the company didn't want to pursue it in the same fashion as Candy and Galaxy Digital and Consensus. So they end up splitting, and it really is for the better. It seems like we now have a Web3 leaning and looking forward group of partners here, and no one's kind of holding anyone back. So I think that is really good for Candy, and makes us really excited, especially when you read more. And as I'm learning more about Galaxy Digital and Consensus, it's really great to see what they're capable of as well. So that was touched on. I also wanted to know about how Candy's current relationship with the MLB stands. Was there any drop because Fanatics leaving? And it was mentioned that the partnership is still in place and unchanging. It really, Candy, when it was under Fanatics umbrella, was still sort of surrounded and sort of its own entity, and stayed that way. The licenses were under it the whole time, as well. So really not much is changing with the partnership. And Candy even mentioned that MLB is really excited about Web3 and what Candy has been able to do so far, and looking forward to how they can do even more with NFTs. So that's really encouraging news. Um, we also talked about the license and how long Candy has the license with MLB, and that was mentioned that it roughly to the end of 2025. Negotiations to continue the license will happen well before that, but right now it's until that date, which is great news and kind of what we were guessing in the Discord. So that's really 3 solid years, give or take, to really do some cool stuff with NFTs, get the ball rolling, do a lot of firsts, things that haven't been seen before, and get people excited about um, the NFTs while they have the license. And even if Candy were to not get the license in the future, let's say it is a possibility, right? Like MLB is their own person, so to speak. So they could just change their mind and go in a whole different direction. But these NFTs that Candy's making are really groundbreaking, cutting edge. It's going to be sought after NFTs, in my opinion, when we look at the history of this in the future, and where NFT started and who was making innovations. Candy's going to have so many firsts under its belt, and they were the first to do this, first to do that. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out, what people think about when they look back at these NFTs and this era of NFTs. I also asked about getting our own wallets and making sure that the NFTs live on in case Candy does not. And Scott seemed to have recognized the importance of that, and said that it sounds like they're going to give the collector the choice. They're going to have the choice of pushing NFTs into their own wallet or keeping it under the Candy umbrella, which is the beginner level, easier choice. So that's really promising. I also kind of pressed to him to put it on the roadmap and make sure that the roadmap's followed to a T when it comes to that. Because what if it's 2025, middle of 2025 again, and we have to have the same conversation? It's really just so gives a collector so much anxiety because we don't know if it's going to happen or not. And we've already put so much effort, money, time into this platform. We at least want to get the NFTs that we bought out of the system. So Scott's seems to be well aware of the problem situation, our thoughts on that. And it sounds like they are planning to, to move forward with that solution. So there were some questions on the growth of Candy and how they're going to grow their community. That's top of their mind. Actually, they said it was their number one objective for 2023 Q1 and forward. So they're going to be focusing on the Candy web platform and customer acquisition and trying to make things as get from ticket sales to learning about Candy and educating customers to getting them signed up with an account as quickly and easily as possible. They're going to work on removing any roadblocks with getting the customer sign up and get them interested in NFTs or even get to their free NFTs. A lot of people might get free NFTs, but they never end up going to the site, signing up. Candy's going to be working on that. They think NFT ticketing really is a way or an avenue of interest to keep pursuing the customer. And they've seen some promising data, it sounded like, at least at one point, to tell them that is the way that they want to go. So they'll be doing a lot of ticketing. They do say the biggest hurdle has been education, and a lot of customers learned about NFTs with Apes or Top Shot or whatever the case might be. Now there's the FTX Crisis, and trying to educate the customer not to put all NFTs in one basket. And of course, everyone buckets it into the dead basket. NFTs are dead, but they are surely still living on and will be for some time. We all know that. If you're listening here, I bet you agree. So trying to educate customers there. Platform and engagement and even gamification was mentioned as a way of attracting and keeping customers. So that was really interesting comments. They are also trying to get players engaged. And I think Mike even or Matt alluded to a goal of at least one player per team to get passionate about the candy NFTs, so that they have someone in the clubhouse, so to speak. So I think that's a great idea, and they seem to have a few teams or a few players that are really on top of it already collecting NFTs and trying to leverage them to get the word out, get other players to have interest or buy-in with NFTs. Have some skin in the game was mentioned. So that was how they're going to be approaching growth and even growth with the players and education with the players. So another thing that we really wanted to know was can Candy be less reactive this year and more proactive? And when Scott was talking about this topic, he did let us know that we're well aware of the many mistakes and how they were and the mistakes they made when they were trying to adjust for the demand of the leadoff series, so to speak. So he alluded to that, but then he also said that he is not willing to give up the right to make those adjustments if needed in 2023. So that kind of gave us some question marks. But Matt jumped in pretty fast right after and said, they 100% plan to be proactive, more transparent. And he pretty much assured us that there won't be an of 600 card NFT in the near future. So I think that is really nice to hear and will help with some of the supply problems that we've seen with leadoff, and also the communication, being more transparent and upfront about what's happening with the set before the packs drop is going to be an amazing improvement for the collectors. So another thing that we wanted to know was, can Candy be all hands on deck for MLB, because that is their flagship product. And if MLB fails, the whole ship goes down, and it's a sort of sense, right? So they did say that they actually said this quote is they're planning to do fewer things and do them better. So they want to have less complexity around everything and focus primarily on MLB. They're not dropping everything else, but they are going to have more resources, more time spent on MLB, is what I got out of the meeting. So really great to hear. And, just makes me, they're listening. They're listening to us, guys. So that's really great. In my last video, I also talked about maybe separating like a rewards loyalty program from the cards, Candy, and also making a 10K collection, so to speak. Candy said that they're not going to do any 10K sort of collection, but they have been lacking a true loyalty program, and it sounded like they wanted to get that going, get that started for a lot of people. They're going to be recognizing early collectors of the loos and the busts and the stadiums. They didn't say any specifics or anything like that. They just said that they really want to make sure that the early collectors are recognized whenever that loyalty program comes around. And so that was great to hear. Even though my idea didn't quite stick, and it probably wasn't a good idea anyways. But I think it's really nice to hear that they're willing to do some things for the earliest collectors, get a loyalty program going. And yeah, that's only going to be good for everyone, and very interesting to see how that all plays out. The thing that was mentioned at the end of the call was it would be impossible to bring everyone together in real life. There's not Scott doesn't seem to think that, everyone's kind of scattered all over the world, and to do like an event in real life really wouldn't involve everyone. It would be kind of a small showing, so to speak. Um, but when he said in real life, I'm like, well, we're a Web3 company now. Like we don't want to think like the fanatics anymore. We got to start thinking Web3, which means metaverse and getting in the communicating and dialoguing in the metaverse, and maybe having a party in the metaverse. And what's really cool about that is everyone around the world can join and be part of the event. You can also have MLB players jump on, and you can talk to them. And it's not like they need security or anything in the metaverse. You can actually have conversations full out with players. We might even, I'm not sure how the video licensing with MLB um is, or if this would be allowed, but what if you had the big game playing too? Like definitely a Yankees game I'd be in, and watching it with some of the crew on the Discord. And we just load up a chat channel on Discord and jump in the sandbox, or jump into some other metaverse platform, right? And start messing around in the metaverse, but also keeping tabs on the game, or talking with other players or teams. So um, I think we got to stop thinking like in real life and spending money so much. I think if we if we want to be a real strong community, um, we got to get involved in the metaverse in some form or fashion, and it will make things it'll make things fun. You can have parties there as well. So I think that would be in place of the real life parties, and might be a good thing. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that idea. Doing some Web3 metaverse sort of things. And I'm curious if Candy's doing has any sandbox land, or is planning like a little hangout place that's gated, um, with some sort of card or something, right? So, um, don't know, but I think that is the future, and we're getting there very, very soon. And you know, it was a great VIP roundtable. Again, thank you so much, Candy, Scott, Matt, Megs, and all the other guys. I saw you too, has been, and really appreciate you guys. And it was great. So, thank you. Minty out.